morning, everyone. Welcome to this session on the Python. This is organized by Thapar Mathematical Society. At the beginning, I want to thank all the participants for joining this session. As I can see that there are many undergraduate students, master students, PhD scholars. We also have some faculty member and some outsider people who are different from Thapar community. I welcome you all for this session. And I, being president of Thapar Mathematical Society, want to thank all my students also who have organized this session. A special thanks to Shrishti, who have coordinated with the speaker of the day. Today we have with us Dr. Sharanjeet Kaur. She's an associate professor at Acharya Narendra Dev College, New Delhi. Welcome, madam. I'm also happy to inform you all that she has done her Masters of Computer Application from Thapar University only. And she has done her PhD in Computer Science from University of Delhi. Her specialization are in data clustering, stream mining, parallel programming paradigm, social network analysis, and graph mining. She has done many publications in her last years. Her research project include a project on development of a free software on clustering stream and a project on data mining and machine learning. It's an immense pleasure for me to tell that she is also active members of the Computer Society of India, and she is also a member of editorial board of International Journal of Data Mining, Modeling, and Management into Science. I welcome you, madam, and I request now you can share your start with the warm words. And if you can share your screen and want to share something with the participants, the screen is all up to you. You are already a co-host for this session.
So okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm audible. Okay. So first of all, I will thank you for inviting me for this seminar or this lecture on basics of Pythons. I'm really honored for giving this session at my university from where I have passed out MCA. Hopefully this screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, this is visible.
So this is the layout which I have thought, keeping in mind the background of the students, that as Shruti have told me that the students, some of the students may not have any programming background. So I will start with basics of Python and then continue with some data structures which are commonly used in Python for solving the problem. So this is the roadmap for this talk. Now, what is Python? Python is basically a programming language which was developed in late 80s or early 90s by Van Rossum in Netherlands laboratories. Basically, the purpose of this Python was to make a language which is simple to understand, and it should be high-level language, and it should have all the capabilities using which any programmer can write his program and can extract modules from the already designed library instead of writing all those modules from the scratch. It is an open source programming language under the GNU General Public License, and the latest version of Python is 3.9.0. Remember here, if you work on Ubuntu or if you work on Windows, some environments, there already Python version is installed. So these systems are basically using Python 2 versions. But when nowadays we are working on Python, we are working with the latest version, that is 3+ version. So make sure that when you work on your Python programming language, then you must make ensure that the Python version is 3+, because there is some syntax change, small little bit change in syntax or writing some statement from Python 2 version to the Python 3+ version. So if you want to find out what is the version of your Python, then at the command prompt of your Windows or your Unix system or Ubuntu system, there you can just type this command Python 3 -- version or Python 3-v. So this will give you the version of your Python which is there. Remember here, if you write there Python -- version or Python -v, in that case you will get version which is Python 2+ version, not the Python 3+ version. So on a system there can be two versions of the Python. Now, what are the features of the Python? Features of the Python, these are the programming language is a object-oriented high-level language. Why this is a object-oriented language? Because in this case, everything you use, starting from the simple variable to the structured variable or the high-level data structures, all these are implemented in terms of classes. So that is why it is called as object-oriented programming language. High-level language because it is simple to, it is written in English-like sentences, so that is why it is high-level language. But the beauty of this Python language is here that it is an interactive language and interpreter is there. That means we do not have to write the complete program of 10 to 20 lines and then wait for the result. In this case, we can just type a command and then see the output. So that is why it is called a interpreted based language. And it is also called scripting language because in this case, some of the command or the statements I can club in a script form and then can run through the command prompt directly. And the code written in Python statements can be portable to any machine, Unix flavored or the Windows flavor. Why it is called extendable? Extendable means here that in this case here, because in case of Python, we can import multiple libraries and then from the libraries, we can use different modules. Similarly, we can also write our own module and can extend the capability of the existing module itself. And one of the most important feature is that this Python is a case sensitive language. That is, whatever thing you write here, that should be, you have to remember the name of the variable which you are using there, that whether it should not, if there is a variable, say capital A, B, C and small a, B, C, then Python interpreter will treat them differently. So it is a case sensitive language, just like your C language. Now, the Python nowadays, because Python is becoming very popular language among the programmer to develop any programs or any applications. So there are lots of integrated development environments are available for the Python. So in this case here, we have most commonly uses PyCharm, IDLE, Sublime Text Free, Jupyter Notebook, Atom, and many, many more. These are the free IDs which you can download and can use it. Or if you do not want to download your Python ID on your system, you can use it directly through the Google Collaboratories. I will give you one or two example of IDLE, how to use IDLE, or how you can use Sublime, or how you can use any of the editor which is available on your system. Type your command and then you can execute your program directly through the command prompt. So these are lots of IDs are there. The benefits of using ID is here that in case of Python, you do not, because basic thing in Python is here that we have to keep track of blocks, and blocks are formed in terms of indentation. If there will be some error in the indentation of the lines in the program, then we will get some errors. The program will not run. So if you will have ID there, so automatically this indentation of the lines will be tracked. So that is why here the user want to work on IDLE instead of simple editors. The Python program can be executed in two modes, interactive mode and script mode. In interactive mode, whenever you write a command or the statement, that can be directly executed at the Python prompt. Like in this case, the prompt will be 3 greater than sign. This is the prompt of your Python. And then any statement which is a valid statement for the Python, you can write that and then can see the output. So whenever you will type a command, press enter, the output of that statement will be given to you. But in case of script mode, instead of executing each command, each statement one by one, what we can do, we can write multiple statements in a program, in a script, and then execute it. Although the interpreter will execute each statement one by one, but the benefit of script mode is will be there that if you have to execute say more than 20 lines So instead of writing each statement one by one, what you can do, you can write those statements in a file and then execute it. Now, before moving to this part, I will show you how we can start working with Python. So I'm skipping from this presentation mode and moving to the editor, how to work with editor. I am working in Ubuntu environment. So in this case, I think screen is visible. Now in this case here I have multiple ways in which I can type my Python program. One way is that I can use ideally, that is the ID for Python, IDLE. Now this IDLE is an interactive environment for Python. So when you start your IDLE environment, so here you see this command prompt. This is the command prompt where you can type your Python statement. And this, here you will get the output. So whatever you will type here, that will be executed one by one. This is your interpretation of the statements. So in this case, if I write here x is equal to 5, x is nothing, a variable, then print statement is used to display the value of the variable. So 5 will be printed. So in this case, what will happen here? This is the interactive mode. That is one by one, each statement will be typed, press enter, and you will get the output. Now, if you do not want to type each statement one by one, you have bundle of statements and you want to store them as a file so that in future you can also use them. So what we do, that we have the option of creating a file in IDLE. So in this case here I can create a file. Say here I can write all these statements which I have typed. Then we have to save it. We can save as, I'm just writing it as a try1.py. Py will be the extension of storing the file, the script file. And then what you can do, you can use run. Python shell is your prompt for the interactive execution of your statements. Run module, when you want to see the output. Check module is to check the errors in your program. Remember here, see, this is the output which you have got for your this. Now, in this case here, remember, I think some of you have worked in C and C++. In C and C++, we have to write a main function, and through that main function, we have to we have to start the execution of our program. But in case of Python, there is no such bindness, that in this case, we can just write the statement and execute. That is the benefit of the interpretation capability of the Python. So this is the two ways through which we can execute our Python program. We can open existing file and then we can try this. Like, for example, I'm opening this. In this case here, this is one file which I may have generated, and then I can execute it by using run option. Check module will be used when you want to find out if there is some error in your program or not. This is one way. Another way is that, what can I do? I can use any editor, say gedit here, editor of Ubuntu, and here I can, suppose I want to make modification in my program. So that program is open, and then say I'm writing this x is equal to 10, and then print value of x is, so whatever the constant string you want to display as such, that has to be written within the quotes, and x is here the variable whose value you want to print. Now I can save this. Now this is my simple editor. This is a text editor. Now I want to execute this program. So what will I do? Here I will have to use Python 3 try1.py. So this is how we can execute our Python program. This is the second way. That means if we do not have any integrated development environment for Python, we have installed Python on our system, then using our text editor and using the interpreter, we can directly execute our program. So there is no need of having IDE, but IDE only simplify the writing and the debugging of the bigger program. That is the benefit of going for the IDEs. So now I will continue with the rest of the presentation. Now, because as in my program, the earlier program which I have shown you, I have used a variable X. So what is that X? X is basically the identifier. Identifier, whenever you want to use any value in your program, or you want to define your own module, your own class, then each of this entity must have a name. So identifier is basically the name which is used to identify variable, classes, function, or modules in a program. So in case of Python, just like any other programming language, we can use alphabets, underscore, digits while identifying by writing any identifier. But remember, there should be no punctuation character because it is a case sensitive language. So that is why here, say these are the two identifier I have used, fanpar. Now, in case of Python, these are two different identifiers, two different variables. Because here the first letter is F is capital, this is lowercase. So these are two different identifiers. So that is why because this Python is a case sensitive language. So these are some examples of the valid identifiers. Means any identifier, any name which starts with A without any spaces, without any punctuation character, and in addition to alphabets and digits, there can be underscore only in a valid identifier. So that is why here these identifiers, these are invalid. So what are the rules for defining identifier in Python? That we can use any letter, any alphabet, lower or uppercase.
Sharon, ma'am, can I just interrupt you in between? There are two questions actually which the participants has asked in the chat box. So I thought because we are running it like, you are explaining a topic, so I'd like to speak up their question so that they understand their doubts whenever you are writing something or showing a screen. So one question has been asked by Manpreet Kaur. She's asking, working of Python ideal is similar to MATLAB. For example, in MATLAB, we are not considering any data type. So here, when you have shown that editor window, you have mentioned somewhere x equal to 5 without mentioning it's an int data type.
Yes.
This is one question.
Yes. In case of Python, we need not to specify data types for any variable. We just use the variable and automatically the interpreter will assign appropriate data type and use in the computation, just like in MATLAB as well as in our programming language.
Okay. And the second question has been asked by GS Bhatia. He asked, I think he or she, I am just, please excuse me in case I just, genderize wrong way, how to do this in Windows command prompt.
Yeah, in case of window command prompts, you can just type your, if you have installed your Python there, then and through some text editor, you have written the program, then Python 3 and the name of the program you have to just give to execute your program. Or you can just use your interface for your Python.
Okay, yeah, that's it. We have just received these two questions at this moment. Okay, carry on.
So shall I continue?
Yes, you can continue.
Okay. And because Python is object-oriented language, so in this case, what happens, that everything, whatever you use, that is taken as a object. So whenever you give any values to any identifier, then corresponding to that variable, one object will be created. And to know the identifier and how the interpreter will keep track of these objects, because we may be using hundreds of variables in our program. So the system maintains ID for these variables, ID of this object, and that we can retrieve using ID of that variable name. Means we can just write there ID object. Object is basically the name of the variable which you have used. And if you want to know what is the type of this object, this is integer type, this is float type, or this is character type or string type, then you have to just write the type of object. Remember, in case of Python, when you can use any variable, any value without worrying about explicitly mentioning the data type of that variable. So that means the type of any variable will be set as per the value assigned. No explicit declaration is required. And that type, that data type can be mutable or immutable. That we'll talk later. What is the meaning of mutable and immutable? And as I have shown you earlier, that to any variable, if you want to assign a value, then you have to use their assignment operator. So assignment operator will be used to assign values from the right hand side expression to the left hand side variable, and that variable should have the naming mechanism as we discussed for the identifier. So these are the built-in data types which are available in Python. For handling the numbers, we have integer, float, complex data type, having the imaginary and the real part, and other integer is further classified as Boolean. When you do not want to give any explicitly specific value to any variable due to some reason that value is not known to you at this moment, or value may be applicable after some time. So in that case here, such variables can be given value none. And sequence data type, string, tuple, list, these are sequence data type, because in this case each element in that value will be accessed sequentially. So this is order set of values. Then we have sets, and most important data type which is now being used is in calculation, in processing, is that is dictionary, key value pair. So these are the built-in data types which are available in Python, and there is no need to explicitly specify that which data type you want to use. You have to just use it, and automatically the Python will identify the appropriate data type for that variable. So this is one table here. This table I have just made to show you how you can specify your number data type. What are the number data types? So number is used to store the single value, and these are the, in this case here, these are integer, float, complex. So in this case, if I have written x is equal to integer 5 or x is equal to 4, so in this case here, the x will have the value, integer value of 5. In this case, it is 5, so that means only 5 will be assigned to this. In this case here y is equal to float 2.3, or you can just write y is equal to 2.3. In this case here, this means that the y will have value 2.3 decimal value. What we are doing here in this integer 5 and in float 2.3, here we are basically typecasting the value. Here, this is the typecasting. The whatever value is there in the parentheses, that is to be changed to integer and store in x. In this case, although there will be no change because parameter itself is a number, integer number, so it will be assigned to x. So float is again a data type. So this is a, that means we are doing here typecasting. And in this case here, what we are doing here, we are saying that z is of complex type made up of two parts. 2 is the real part and 5 is the imaginary part. So this will be the value which will be assigned to this z. And when you will assign, why we call it as a immutable? Remember here when you say x is equal to 4 and after some time you write here x is equal to 10, then what the Python will do, it will not overwrite the content of identifier X where 4 was written. In this case here, Python will create a new object having new ID where value 10 will be stored, but now that value will be accessed through X only. So that means here when you are saying we are writing X is equal to 4 and then followed by X is equal to 5, this doesn't mean that content of 4 are being overwritten by 5. That object is already there. So in this case here, because this is object-based Python, so in this case here the objects will be created for each and every value which you assign there. None is used to store the empty value or single value. So if you do not want to assign any value to a variable, you have to just write there A is none. Sequence means an ordered collection of items, and each element will be indexed by some positive integer, just like arrays in C. Here, sequences are string, list, and tuple type. I'm just giving you some example here, then I will explain them briefly later on. That here, if you write anything in quotes, that means you are using string. Here, hello is being stored in variable X. Or you can also explicitly write here string parenthesis hello. So what is string here? This is a typecast operator. Now here what I'm doing here, I'm creating a list. Or this is a tuple, example of tuple. Remember all these X, L, T, these are the ordered sequence. Means they are accessed, element of these variables are accessed using indexes. So if I write X0, I will get H. If I write here L0, I will get 1. If I get T0, I will get 2. So that is why these are called ordered sequence. Sets are used when you have to work with collection of values with no duplicacy and order does not matter. Then we go for sets. So sets are defined when you write anything within curly braces. This means you are working with sets there. Or you can write this thing. Here, what we are saying here, we have a list, and on the list we are using typecast set. That means now a variable y set is of set type having 2 elements, 1 hello. Suppose I have written here 1, 1. Then y set will have only 1 element, that is 1, because set does not take any duplicate value. And then we have dictionary data type, that is key value pair. Again, it is unordered. That is why it is not called ordered sequence. And on the basis of the key, we can retrieve the values. So here we have, these are the key value pair. 1 is key. Corresponding to key 1, I have the value apple. Corresponding to key 2, I have value ball.
Madam, there are now 2 more questions, I think. So before we proceed, let me to ask these. Again, it has been asked from GS Bhatia. So using data type name, we are assigning specific data type value to the variable, and without specifying, will it work like a template?
Yeah, it will just take the value and corresponding object will be initiated and that appropriate data type will be used.
Okay, so there is one more question from Isha Dhiman, but I didn't get the whole question. Isha, could you unmute yourself and can you directly ask?
Okay, yes. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, hello, ma'am. My question is regarding, can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes. On this slide?
Yeah. Yes, the first one which you explained, immutable numbers. So you told that if you put x equals to 4 and then after that you write x equals to 10, then it will not overwrite the variable.
Yes.
I didn't get that. Means after that.
This means here that the same, remember here when you use variable, the memory is allocated. So once you write x is equal to 4, yes, some memory area will be allocated on the basis of the data type of this. Say 4 bytes are allocated. when you say x is equal to 10, in that case, what will happen here? A new object will be created, a new memory area will be allocated, and now we are referring to this through that. So remember here that in this case here, the memory allocation mechanism is different in case of Python. Every time you assign a value, although we are seeing here the variable name is same, but they will not be stored at the same memory location. They will be at a different location. So if you want to check it, then you can just use the ID of X. Then you can find out the identifier will be different. So that is why it is say immutable, simple values.
Okay, so I hope it is clear to her.
Okay, Mike, no, ma'am, I just want to ask something more about it. Yes, means after that, suppose we will use that X as a variable in some calculation.
Yes.
I don't know whether we do that here or not, just like we do that in MATLAB. So then will it automatically catch the value of X available there, like as it does it
that
MATLAB?
Is the recent value which you have assigned to that X, that will be used. Say you are written X is equal to 4, X is equal to 5, and then you say here Y is equal to X. So Y will have value 5 then, not the 4. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I got it.
There is one more question from Manpreet. She's asking, can we do symbolic calculations on Python?
Symbolic calculation means, what do you want to understand from the symbolic calculations?
I think probably from symbolic, maybe speaking about some symbols used, Manpreet. So I'll get back to Manpreet. You continue, madam, please, for the presentation. Okay.
So in case of when you write a program, remember here, because Python works in terms of blocks, so we have to keep track of proper indentation of the statements. So all the statement at the same level of indentation, that is the main point which you have to remember if you are not using IDE, because IDE will automatically keep track of the indentation. But if you are using text editor, in that case here, you will have to keep track of the indentation of your lines. So if you want to write all the statement in a one block, so all the statement will have same level of indentation. If within that block you want to start a new block, then indentation level will be different. So we will see it in the next program, which I will just present here. So that means in a program, there can be multiple nested blocks, and these nested blocks will be at different indentation level, but the statements within each block will be at the same indentation level. Like this is one example. This is one decision-making statement in Python. Now what we are doing here, in this case here, this is one block. This is one block. Within one block, we are checking here that if condition is true, then do this thing. So that means we want to create a new indent level. So you see here the difference in the indentation. So this indicates when you change the indent level, indentation, in that case here, that means a new block has been started. So here within this block, there can be many statements. Now in this case here these statements means there can be 2, 3, 4 statements here. If they are at the same indentation level, that means these all statement has to be executed if condition is true. If condition is false, then whatever statement which you write here at the same indent level must be executed. So block indentation matters. And in case, this will be clear to you when we will do some online programming. Sometimes what happens when you write a program, the statement can be very long statement, and on one line we are not able to write the complete statement. Then what we can do, then we can split that line into multiple lines where each part will be ended by your backslash character. So this indicates here, this backslash, this indicate here that this is not the end of the line, but this is its continuation. So that means total is equal to item 1 plus item 2 plus item 3. So backslash character is used when you want to split your one statement into multiple lines, if that statement is long. Now within a program, whenever you write a program, it is a good habit that we have to document that program properly. So we have to use comments. In case of Python, we have two types of comments available, just like you'll see. That is, here we can write a single line comment. We can also specify multi-line comment. For a single line comment, that any line which you prefix by hash. The first character is hash. This means, this indicates this is a comment. Interpreter has not to execute this comment, this statement, but just to skip it. But if your comments are lengthy, multiple lines are there, in that case here, we have to use their multiple quotes, single quote, 3 single quote. From wherever you want to start your comment, or some statement which you doesn't want to include in the execution part. So in the beginning of those statement, write 3 quotes and end those statement by 3 quotes. So in this case, what will happen here? So these are the multi-line comments which are there. If you do not use multi-line comments, then what will happen? Before each of these statement, you have to use hash. So hash is used for single line comment, and triple quotes or single quotes are used for multi-line. Just like any programming language we have here, we can use arithmetic expression, we can use Boolean expression. Arithmetic expression means when you want to do some calculation, so we have to use arithmetic operators. And if you have to compare two values, you have to use relational operators, greater than, less than, equal to. And if you have to combine two conditions together, then you have to use the logical operator, that is and or not. So logical expressions are those expressions which gives us value true or false. For example, I want to check this condition that grade is an identifier. If grade is greater than A and less than C, then do this task. So this will be the corresponding logical expression. So here, first of all, I have to compare whether grade is greater than A. I have to use relational operator. I have to check grade is less than C. And then I have to combine these two by using AND. If I will use here OR, then what will happen here? That either of this should be true. Means if grade is greater than A, can be B, can be C, can be D. Or if grade is less than C, it can be A or B. In that case here, we can go for OR. OR operator means one of the condition will be true or both of the condition is true, then take some further action. So we have to work with logical expression. Then in relational operator, we can use equal operator too, that we use most frequently when we have to compare the values of the variables or one variable with another constant. Then we can use this equal to operator, and this is your equal to operator. We have to remember here, equal to operator. This relational operator means two equal to sign. When you use single equal to, this means assignment value. This is an assignment operator. Assignment operator means that you are assigning value from right hand side to the left hand side. So you have to make sure that you are using equality operator properly. And this is your relational operator. You can compare your arithmetic expression with another arithmetic expression. In this case, I am using here division operator, and this double slash is your mod operator. Means when you want to, in this case, this is your integer division. We can use, this is not mod operator, this is an integer division. In this case here, we want to compare, want to have the result in the whole number form. So types of statements, the simple statement which we can use in Python, these are assignment statement, input statement, output statement. We have used earlier assignment statement to assign the value of to one variable. Like in this case, we are assigning 90 to angle. Angle is a variable name, and thapper to name. And when you want to write multiple statements in a line in Python, you can separate those statements by semicolon. Means it is not necessary that we have to write individual statement on individual line. we can also write multiple Python statement on a single line, but remember they must be separated by semicolon operator. Print statement is used to display the output to the user as we used earlier, but if you want to take input from the user, then you have to use input statement. And in case of Python, everything you enter, that is stored in a string type. Means whenever you will enter anything, that although you can type a number, say 5, so 5 will be stored in name as a string type. And then you have to use typecast operator to convert your string to integer if it is a integer string, and to do before doing any calculation. So remember, when you take data from the user using input statement, everything entered is treated as a string. And before processing on the data, if that data is numeric, you want to do some calculation, you have to use typecast operator. But which typecast operator? Int or float. If you know the value entered can be decimal, you should go for float. Otherwise, you can go for integer. So now we will take one example here. Now in this case here, this example I'm not using here ideally. I'm showing you here how to work with Google Colab. Google Colab is basically the online facility available. Now in this case here, this is, I have opened Google Colaboratory. This is at this, you can log in, you can create your account at the collab.research.google.com with your Gmail ID. In this case here, we have the facility of executing our Python program online. So purpose of this Google Colaboratory is to allow researchers to work in a simple environment and share their program. So I'm now working here with Google Colaboratory. In Google Colaboratory, this statement, which you can, this will not be useful here, but this will be used when you use work on your desktop, where you want to clear your previous screen. Then we can import OS library, and from this OS module, we can execute clear command. Clear command is basically your command available for your operating system to clear your terminal. In this case here, because there is no terminal available at this moment, so nothing action will be taken. Now, here, in this case here, in the case of Google Colaboratory, we have why this should be used in the beginning or for the presenting the concept regarding the Python. Why I have chosen this, because in this case, this notebook in which I am working here, this always has two parts, code and text. Code part is where I can write my Python statement, and text part is where I can write my comments or the documentation I can do for my code. So if I will click on the text, one text window will be open, and here I can just write my text that will be used as a comment. And in case of code, if I click on code, the code window will be open. Like in this case here, as you see here, what I have done here, I have taken numbers from the user. The purpose of this by code is to take two numbers from the user and to add them. And for taking input from the user, we learn that we have to use input statement. So we have written two input statement, number 1, number 2 are two identifier. Then we will displaying their values, and then we will see what will be the type of number 1 and number 2. And if I will try to write here, C is equal to number 1 plus number 2, then what will happen here? Let us see. Enter first number. Say I have entered 5. I have entered 10. Now in this case here, I have 5 and 10 class string and class string. The 5 and 10 both are string type. As I have told you earlier, anything which you take as input from the user, that is always in a string form, because in case of Python, everything is handled in terms of object. So this is showing you that this 5 is an instance of class string in Python. So that is the data type of this, that this is an instance of class string, because this is a string type. Now I do not get any output here. I do not get any error. Now let us see what will be the, if I print here, what will be the output of C and what will be the type of C. See here, why we have not got any error here? Because two strings are added, that is concatenated, added, not addition of numeric values. They are concatenated. So that is why your output is 5, 10, 5, 1, 0. That is string. And this C itself is a string type. But because you want to do here addition on two numbers, 5 and 10, you want to have output 15. Then before doing any numeric computation on the enter data, you have to convert it into appropriate data type. So now what I'm doing here, I'm converting number 1 into integer and number 2 into float, and then printing its value. Again, I will get here. In case of collaborative, that is another benefit, because we can execute statement one by one, and if you want to see the value of the variable, you have not to repeat print statement again and again. But remember here, print statement will not be needed if you are just displaying the value of one variable. If in one code window you write multiple variables to display, only the last variable value will be displayed. So when you have to display output of multiple variables, use print statement. But if you want to display the value of one variable, you can skip that print statement. You will just write X, you will get the value of that variable, just like your interactive environment of the Python. Now I can add them. X plus 5. Now see here, why we have got 15.0? Because X data type you have taken as integer. You have taken X as type class as integer, X integer, and Y as float type. So in case of integer, here depending on the environment and the data type, for the integers, say 2 bytes are assigned, and for float 4 bytes are assigned. So in this case here, the addition of these two values will be, the result of addition will have the higher data type, that is a float. So that is why this is sum is float type. Then difference, we are using minus operator, difference is minus 5. Then we have this division. And remember here, another thing which you can note here, that here in print statement, I have used AND. So what is the use of AND? If you write multiple print statement, then output of each statement will be on the separate line, just like here. But if you want to have the output of many print statement on the same line, then you have to use here AND. And after this AND, you can use any delimiter of your choice. You can make it as empty, but you have to use their AND. This is the reserved word to indicate that this is end of line is not there. The next output has to be printed on the same line. So that is why here this divide and product output is on the same line as well as of that of by, because in case of this, I have used another delimiter. So AND can be used in print statement to have output of multiple print statement on the same line.
Ma'am,
yes.
Can you just hold it? There are two questions. What is the meaning of hashtag here when you have mentioned here X equal to 10, which is written with the green color in your first?
Yeah. This is a comment. This is a comment.
Okay.
As I have told you earlier, this is a comment.
Okay. And there is one more question has been asked by Manpreet only. If in the earlier statement you have written C equal to int number 1 plus int number 2 and directly put the symbol as plus, will that work?
Yes, this will work. This will work.
Okay.
This will work. Means I can just write here print int number 1. I think this is what he's asking or she's asking.
Yeah, this is what she's asking.
This is.
Yes.
So we can use typecast. This is 15, we have got it. Now what will happen here? But see the difference here. 15 and 15 here. Because there I have typecast to float. So higher data type is float, so output is 15. But in this case, I have used int as the typecast for both the values. So output is integer form. Now, in case of Python, another beauty of the Python is that we have lots of libraries are there. We can directly use those functions which are available in the libraries and use them. So here, functions which are already available in the libraries, these functions we called as built-in functions which are available in the libraries, which we can import within our code and use them. We can also specify our own functions and use them later on as per the need. Just like here, what we are doing here, we are importing a library random. So what is the purpose of this random? This library is used to generate random numbers in your program. For example, you want to create a sample of 100 values, random values. So through this, you can generate your random values through this by importing this random library. And when you want to do some want to calculate sine, cos, or exponent, or you want to do find the minimum values of from a given list of values, in that case here we can also make use of this math library. So I'm just telling you here what is the benefits of using these libraries, maths and random. Now this code, as this code indicate here in this case, I have a tuple having, in this case, we have a minimum function. This is a built-in function, and these are the parameters which are passed to this function. We have the 5 parameters which we are passing here. These parameters of integer type. Now what this minimum will do, that it will find the minimum value and display it. Similarly, the max will do, power will do. Power will basically compute 3 की power 2. And here I am generating a random number, then doing some calculations on that random number. This minimum and maximum function, these can also be used with the string values. If you are using the string values, remember here, the minimum and the maximum will be on the basis of the ASCII values, which are associated with the string character. So that means min and max will work differently for integer value and for the string values. Let us execute it. I have not imported this. So here I have got here minimum number 4, maximum of 4561 is 6, power of 3 की power 2 is 9, random number generated is 0.97. This will generate random number from 0 to 1. I'm multiplying by 100 and displaying is 97.03. Out of this, remember here, because all these are string type, so ASCII values will be taken of the first letter. First letter ASCII value of capital A is smaller than rest of the string's first letter. So this is the minimum string. And the maximum string is your this DF. So that is why you got here DF. On the basis of the ASCII value, Unicode value, these characters or the letters of the strings will be compared one by one. First letter will compare. If first letter is same in all the sent values, then the second letter will be compared, then third, till we got differentiation among the minimum and the maximum value. This example shows you the use of flooring and ceiling. Flooring means when you want to truncate your decimal number to the lower whole number, and ceiling when you want to get the larger number from given decimal number, immediate larger whole number.
So we have 3 questions till now. there is one question has been asked from MS Singh, I think. Number 1, which is input, enter the first number. Is there any way of specifying in the instruction that the number is an integer?
Yes, this is what we have written.
Okay.
Enter first number. Anything you can write here within the codes. Input takes a string value. Here you can write first number, and I can mention here, please enter positive number.
Okay. And the second question is, minimum and maximum function is used on tuple, or it can be used in the list?
It can be used in this, but remember here, by mistake, I have told here that this is a tuple. This is not a tuple. This is basically the function which is taking, inbuilt function which is taking this parameter. We can use minimum max on list as well as on tuple. That we will use later on. This is a function. This is not a tuple. Tuple symbol is this, but this is just we are passing parameter. Parameters are passed to function in terms of this round basis. So this is not a tuple here.
Okay.
That was mistakenly I have told here that this is a tuple. This is a set of parameters which you are passing to your minimum.
So this
and
is
parameters are separated by commas when you define your function.
So there is one participant who's again asking to explain the minimum in the string statement.
I will just write here. Suppose this is my, now I want to find minimum A1 and AZ. Now what will happen here? Now these three string first letter is same. Their ASCII code is same, that is 65. So next character will be taken. Now next character, this doesn't has any next character, this has 1. Again its corresponding ASCII value will be used to compare with this Z ASCII value. Small z is more than this. So that means this is the one of the biggest string in here. And A has only 1 letter. No other character is there. So this is the minimum one. So characters of a strings are compared on the basis of underlying ASCII values or the Unicode values. Your Python uses Unicode system for assigning the values. So if you will print here, so it is just here, waiting for the output. So sorry, please let me complete this. Now see here, the output is your A. If I will give here B and say Z, Z has the highest ASCII value, A is the smallest. So A will be have the, so remember in case of string, comparison is not on the basis of the length of the string. Like for example, if I have this, AAA, B, although length of Z is smaller than that of length of AAA, but if I will print this, I will get AAA because the first letter of this string is having lower ASCII value compared to B and Z. So that is why this becomes minimum. So minimum operation in string is done by comparing the ASCII value of the corresponding character.
So maybe I can just rename this as lexicographic ordering, because this is what we do in discrete math, where we just compare the first letter or the first character.
Yeah, this is lexicography ordering.
Yeah, so in that lexicography, it doesn't matter what is the length of that particular number or the characters or the alphabets that we have written. It always start comparing with from the first position. And if it's smaller in the definition, then it always, so I think this is the lexicographic ordering.
And this is.
Okay, so there is one more question, madam, which asks when random is generating numbers from 0, 1. The random function, I think that you library.
Yeah, in this case, it is generating 0 to 1, but we have different options to which we can specify the range also within which this random number has to be generated. We have the rand function in which I can give the parameter 1 to 100, where I can get values random number from range 1 to 100. But in this case, it will generate random number from 0 to 1. So shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we have pi function. Now we always use pi in our for angles. So and pi is your 3.14. So we have this constant is already defined in your math library. See here, when I have toggle over this, highlighted over this, pointing over this, identify, it is giving me the value of that variable, math.pi. So in this case here, this is the pi is defined within the library math having this value. Then I'm applying this cost function on this. Let us see what will be the output. So in this case here, this is pi angle, this is radian, this is your equals to 180 degrees. So in this case here, cos pi, this will give you value -1. And when you directly write here cos 3.1416, that I'm just giving the constant value, not the constant identifier, constant literal. In this case, not the variable pi, which is defined in library. In this case here, see the value is -0.99999. That is basically here. In this case here, the exponent is high, although this is approximately equal to -1. And see here, in this case here, this exponent is very large, e की power -17. So this is equivalent to your 0. And in terms of degree, pi is equal to 180. So you can use this function and then do the calculation. So remember here that in this case here, the cost functions, they take values in terms of radians and then they generate the value. So that is why I have converted this 90 in degree form into radians and then finding the cost function. So using degree or using radian function, like here, I can use this function to convert angle in radians to degree and radian function, inbuilt function, to convert angles in degree to radians. 180 degree in the radian forms and degree function, this is the inbuilt function to convert the radian values into the degree. So if I will print this, so it is showing you pi value is 3.14. In terms of degree, this is equal to 180 degree and 180 degree equivalent is 13 that is the value of the pi. And if you want to find out the help of any function, you can just use their help. Help is defined on your prompt, your command prompt of your interpreter Python. You can use just help and write the word for which you're looking for the help. So system will show you, the interpreter will show you the help of that symbol or identifier which you have mentioned there. Like in this case here, it is showing you that math, it is having here all these functions are there. These functions are defined in math. And then the help of sign shows you explicitly that it is giving you, will return you, this built-in function will return you sign value of the radian past. Now let us take one example here, one simple program here. In this program, what I'm doing here, I'm taking name from the user, two names, say first name and the last name, and displaying it. Now, I can display this name in multiple ways, that I just want to have first name, some spaces, and the last name. First name and the last name without any space. Or I want to do display the name repeatedly. Now, in case of string, we can apply plus and this star operator, that is your multiplication operator. Plus operator, I have shown you earlier how it works on string. It is used to concatenate the string. And this star, this multiplication operator, this is used as a repetitive operator. That is to repeat the value of that string that many times. So if I have taken input from the user, say this is first name, this is the last name, then if you write name comma last name, then in this case here there will be one space within this. But if you don't want to have space, you want to have give input to your print statement as a single string, then you can add them, concatenate them using plus operator and pass them. And then we have there, this is repeating name 3 times. Sharanjit, this is being repeated, displayed 3 times. So remember here, when you write multiple variables separated by comma in print statement, that what will happen here, actually what the system does, that it is generating a single string and then displaying the output. That means print is actually takes a single parameter. Although here we are using multiple variable name, they are separated by comma. So comma is used to concatenate them together and then displaying them. So print takes input a single parameter which is of the string type. So this is about simple statements and the built-in functions which we can use in Python. So now I'm continuing with, like for example here, I have entered some name and I want to check whether this name starts with A or not. If not, I want to say this is a wrong name. Or I want to check if the last name is not core, then it is a wrong last name. I want to ask the user to enter it again. That means I want to check the value of the variable entered by the user. This is just equivalent to when while withdrawing cash from the ATM, you enter your password. If password is incorrect, you have again got a prompt to enter the correct value. So what happens there? Their decision making is being done. Means whether the password is correct or not. And what is password? Password is what are the value which you have entered. So that value will be taken, compared with some existing value which is already there in the memory. And then if the value doesn't match, then again you got the prompt that this value is, this is incorrect password. So same thing is here, that how we can actually do this in our programming part. So this can be done by using decision-making statement. So what is decision-making statement? That we will continue now. So decision-making statements are nothing but the statement to choose one particular action from the multiple set of statements. If condition is true, then I want to take this action. If condition is false, I want to take this action. That means I want to execute statement depending on the value of some condition. In that case, here we use decision-making statement. So we have 2 ways of using decision-making statement in Python. We can have if-else or we can have nested if-else. So let us see how this will be used. What is the working of this decision-making statement? Now, decision-making statement, what does it take? It takes condition. If that condition is true, then appropriate statement is to be executed. If condition is false, then we want to take another action. So that means decision statement evaluates some logical expression. The logical expression which will return you some binary value that is true or false. Depending on the outcome of that expression, some statement will be executed. And this condition which you write as a logical expression, it may consist of arithmetic operator. Few example is plus, star, slash. These are some of the arithmetic operators. I'm not writing all these operators. Relational operator, less than, greater than, equal to, not equal to. Logical operator, and or not. And or not, and or, this is used to combine 2 binary expression, 2 relational expression you can say, to have one output, either true or false. Not is used to negate the value of one logical expression. If it is true, it will give you false, otherwise it will give you true. So that means in case of if statement, that in case of Python, we can use if else in multiple ways. I can just use if statement. That means I just want to execute true part. I do not want to write else part. Then I can use simple if statement. But if there is a else part as well as true part, I can go for if else statement. I can also go for nested if statement if within true part or else part, some more if statement have to be checked. Then we will work with nested if statements. This is one example. Now, purpose of this example, as you see here, this is to, I'm taking a variable, assigning some value. If that variable value is 100, I want to display, yes, it is a true expression and printing the value of that variable. So I can just simply use here because nothing else I want to use. Means I want to look for, say, I have entered some name. If that name is equal to, say, some given name core, I want to say this is correct, otherwise this is incorrect. Suppose now I'm not talking about the incorrect part, I'm just talking about the correct part only. So I can, what can I write there? I can just write there, if last name equals to core, print valid last name. So in case of if statement here, we have true part is there, corresponding to true part, some statement will be executed, and corresponding to else part, nothing is given. That is the simplest if statement. But if now within if statement here, as shown here, we can have condition like this. We can have condition combined using logical operator AND. That means I want to check whether the marks are here. The purpose of, what is the purpose of this code is, I have given marks, and on the basis of the marks, I want to check whether which division that student has got. So in that case, I will have to use decision making statement. Means if marks are greater than 60, so first division is there. In between 50 and 60, second division is there. If marks are less than 50, that is fail. So that means I will have to make use of multiple if statement. And remember here, each of this if statement is simple if statement. I have not used else. So how if statements are used? Within parentheses, you write there condition, which is to be checked. And then you have to use their colon. Colon means this is the end of this condition. If you will not use colon here, that means condition part is there. You want to have more, give more condition part. So terminating condition point of a if is indicated by colon. As soon as you will press enter there, now what are the statements you write in true part, that should be begin with a new block. So that is why this indentation is shown here. That is, in this case here, we have, this is the indentation. See here, this is indent. This is not just below this if. This is called indentation. And remember, indentation level must be same. Then we have if for second part, for second division, mark should be between 15 and 60. Again, we have this. And within this indented block, I can have many statements. Means I can write here, print first division, marks are greater than 60. So these two statements can be written here within the same block. Another usage of this if is that now I want to use else part too. What will be example here? Example is that I want to take a number and I want to check whether that number is even or odd and display the appropriate message. So here I will have to make use of condition if else. If some condition execute this set of statements, and remember here this set of statements will be at the same indentation level. And under else, what are the statements you want to execute? They must be at the same indentation level. If else, condition true, do this. Condition false, do this. So that is what it is shown here in this picture. If condition is true, if part, the true part will be executed, otherwise else part will be executed. Like here, we want to check that if value is greater than 100, we want to say, display message, yes, it is a true expression. Otherwise, we want to print false value. So here, in this case, what we have used? We have used decision-making statement if along with else. Remember here, remember to use this colon. Colon indicate end of that unit. This condition part here and else part here. That means now this is end of this block. We want to continue with the new block, which will be in the inner level of this else. So we have to make sure indentation is proper. Otherwise, you will get error there. Now here, I am taking this is use of the nested if statement. I have taken a age of a user, and depending on the age value entered by the user or assigned to that variable, I want to display minor, senior person or adult person. So now we have to make multiple decision making. So what we'll have to do in this case here, I can use if age is less than 18, then print minor, else if. I can use another if statement also. I can just write here, if age is greater than this, then write this. But because corresponding to this age value, I want to print only one message. So I will prefer to use their nested if statement. That if this condition is true, then execute it, and then this if statement will terminate. If age lies between this, like in this case, age lies between this range. So here, this is true. So adult message will print and this if statement will be terminated. In case his age is 80, this is false. This is also false. So this else part will be executed and you will get message there, senior person. So remember indentation. Now while typing, this indentation has been increased, but this else should be just below this. So if you will execute this code, you will get error there because this block is not properly indented. Indentation has to be done. Otherwise you will get error, and that is the benefit of using integrated development environment, as you may have used for the R or MATLAB, that we need not to worry about the variables which we have defined earlier or the indentation level. That will be automatically taken care of. Now sometimes what happens, now let us, before moving to this while loop, let us take some program, execute it, and then we will move to this while loop. What is the purpose of the while loop? While loop is when you want to repeat a set of statements again and again till some condition is true, till some criteria is true. As soon as that criteria is false, you want to terminate execution of those statements. For that purpose, we use the looping. So let us take example of if statement, and then we will come back to this while loop. Now here, I have to find out, I think screen will be visible to all of you. Here.
Yes, it is visible.
Yes. Here I'm giving example of decision making statement and the loop. What will be the purpose of looping here? Let us take, we have taken, my problem is that I have taken a number from the user and I want to display whether this number is even or odd. So in case of Python, and logically what we do, because we are from the math background, so what we do, we divide that number by 2. If remainder is 0, that means number is even, otherwise number is not even. So that is how we do this. So that means now I have to do a decision making here. I will divide a number which I have entered by 2. If remainder comes to be 0, that it is even, otherwise it is odd. So this is what I have written here. I'm taking an input from a user. So it is connecting, it will take some time. Now number is entered. For example, I have entered 11. And then I'm executing this set of statements. Now, what is the purpose of this statement? If this percentage, this is the mod operator, this is used to get remainder. So if remainder is 0, print even, otherwise print odd. So here, in this case here, 11 will be displayed as odd. Now let us take one more example here. In this case, we have 12. I have entered 12 and execute it. So now answer is 12 is even. Now see what happens. Again, I am executing it. I enter here A. What you got here? You got here mismatch error. That is this literal which you have entered, that is A which you have entered, that is a character, that is a string, alphabet. It is not integer type. It is not a value with base 10. So error will be there. So in case of Python, we have provision of handling such exception by using try and exception block. That we will also try to cover if time permits. So that means if you have not entered a valid value which cannot be typecast by integer, you will get the error message, and that error message is value error. This is the exception which the interpreter has raised, that this is invalid value. Now for example, what I want to do, I want to take what is my need, this code I have written. I have find out that this code is working correctly, whether the given number is even or odd. Now what I want to do, I want to keep on taking number from the user, checking for even or odd, display them till user enters a negative value. So that means input statement and this decision making statement, I will have to write in a loop. So what is that loop? That loop is, we can work in Python using while loop. So while loop is used to repeat a set of statements depending on some condition. Now what is that condition? Condition is until user press negative value, keep on repeating the same task. So that means what I will have a number. I will check if it is a positive number. If yes, then I will move to here. I'm checking for if it is positive, checking for even number or not, else odd. And then again, see here, why I have written here n. Again, I have taken n. Now, in this case here, the usage is, let us first see how it works. Then I will remove this comment, this line, and then I will see what will be the output. Here, I'm executing this, entering a value 4, getting 4 is even number, 35 is odd number. Again entering some value 2 is even number, -2. Terminates. That means here I can, if I want to have the explicit message here, I can write here print out of loop. Now suppose I remove this line. I have commented this line. Then what will happen here? Can anybody tell? What will be the output of this set of statements if I remove this line?
Infinite loop.
Yes, this will be infinite loop. Why it will be infinite loop? Because in this case, we have entered a value of n. If that value is greater than n, it will enter into loop. If that value is negative, it will not enter into loop, and we will get here message out of loop. Let us try this. If I will enter -9, I will get message out of loop. That means this part will not be executed at all, because we have given this condition. -9 is greater than 0, false. Condition is false. So this while block will not be executed at all, and we will get here out of loop. But if you will give here minus, say, 9, see here, we have entered into a infinite block, infinite loop. Now you must be here. One important thing which I want to explain here, that it is not necessary that we have to always work with some numerical values only. Here, because in Python we can work with, we can import libraries. So what we can do here, I'm just giving you very interesting example of the graphics, that how you can work with graphics, and then you can use them as per your need. If you are not working in Colab, Turtle, I think you must have used in your school days. You must have used Logo or Turtle to learn programming in computer programming in your class 5 or 6. Same thing we can import, we can use in our Colab laboratory by using Colab Turtle library, or in case of your desktop, ideally you can just import Turtle, and then you can use these commands. So I'm just, whenever you have to work with this Turtle, you have to install this, and this command basically it is used, pip command is used to install Colab Turtle. It is system command to install the module Colab Turtle with this Python environment. And then what I'm doing here, I'm importing that Turtle from this Colab Turtle as T. Now, what is the meaning of this? That from this library, import this library and name it as T. If you will not use as T, this is a qualifier. This is a naming convention for this. If you will not use ST, so what will happen? Wherever you have to use the facility of the Turtle, you have to prefix it as Colab Turtle.turtle. So this here, we are just shortening the name of the library which we are importing. That import this library as T. Now, because this is a graphic mechanism to visualize something, so in that case here first of all you have to initialize your Turtle. So in this case here, this is a window which will be displayed to you, and this is the Turtle sign. This is a graphical window in which you can plot your need. Now what I'm doing here, I want to plot a line, a rectangle with color white. So here in case of Turtle, here we have a statement forward. Forward is to generate a line with 150 coordinates, and this is towards x-axis, because Turtle is here, in this case Turtle direction was upwards. So in this case here, the forward line will be plotted. This is your Turtle was here in the beginning, in the middle of the screen. Now Turtle is here. That means 150 units it has moved forward. So this 150 unit, these are the pixels. This is your picture area, X by Y resolution. Now I have to generate a rectangle. So either Turtle will move towards left or towards right. So now next statement I have to do is I have to change the direction of this Turtle. So that means I will specify here that with which angle I have to change this direction. So I have written here t dot left because I want to plot the rectangle. So in this case, and then once direction is changed, I want to draw a line of 75 pixels, forward 75. Once it is plotted, so I will just cut it here, Control Z, Control X, I have done. See what happens here. So this is your logical sequence. I want to generate 50 line towards the breadth. Then if I want to print the rest of the lines, I have to again change the angle. That is, I have to move towards left side. So this will be my complete rectangle. So what I have done, I have now basically I have drawn a picture on my screen. The color can be changed. So basically the way in which you write the statements, why I am showing you this example, that is the sequence in which you write the statement, action happens according to that sequence. If you will change the sequence, your desired output will not be there. Like for example, I remove these statements here. These statements I remove. Control X. This is also for generating the rectangle. First I will have to show the output. I will show you the output and then I will remove this. In this case, I am printing my red color rectangle on a white screen. And remember here, no turtle is being displayed. This is turtle here. Turtle is not being displayed, but here this is hidden. So why? How I have done this? I have hide turtle. Now, for example, I just remove these lines. Then what happens here? This rectangle will be incomplete. So what I want to show you that the statements which you have written, if they are not in a logical sequence, these are not logical sequence, the sequence in which if they will execute, you will get the output, your net output will be wrong. So if you want to write, you want to solve any problem, you have to consider its logic first, and then you have to use those statements to write your program. Now, in this case, I'm making use of for loop and this forward and left only to generate a flower. This is what I have generated. What I have done here, nothing I have done. I have used those left, this forward and left. Now, in this case, angle is not 90 degree because I'm not moving in a 90 direction. I'm moving in particular angle. That angle I'm giving here 170. And this I want to repeat many times. So I have taken here loop. So this is how we can make use of your while loop. So what is here? I have used here for loop. I have not used here while loop because in case of for loop, when you want to repeat a statement a fixed number of times, then we prefer to use for loop because this is simpler compared to while loop. While loop we use when we want to repeat set of statement depending on the condition. As soon as condition becomes false, we want to stop the execution of the underlying block statement of the while. But when you want to execute a set of statement fixed number of time, repeatedly same action you want to take, then you use your for loop. So in case of for loop, what is here? We have for I, in is the membership operator, and range is the inbuilt function which will give you the value from 0 to 35. 36. Range is a function which will give you value 0 to 35, starting from 0 till 36. You can also start from 1. I can write here 1, 36 if I do not want to have 0. So this statement will be executed. This statement will execute 36 times for I varying from 0 to 36. So here, if I again do this, again I will have the same. But if I want to change the color, I can change this color to this blue. So this is how I will have this. I can change the position of this flower. So in this case here, what can I do? Here, I have to set the position. This is a new flower I have plotted here without overwriting it. So how I have done this? I have to set the position of X and Y coordinate where I want to plot a new thing. That is, go to that pixel. First is the X axis pixel and Y is the 400 is a Y axis pixel. And why have we used this?
Can I just interrupt you? There are two questions before you just proceed up. They will not make sense. One question was asked by SG. So where you have renamed the turtle library as T. So the question was, can we use T as a variable name then?
This is the name of, no, in that case here, then the use of that will be overwritten.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense that you cannot reuse. Otherwise it will be overwritten. There's another question from Gautam Singla. He asked, can we make this in Python app? Specifically, I think he's asking about flowers in Python 3.5.5 app.
Yes, definitely you can use this. You can have to import turtle library. Here I have imported Colab turtle. There you have to import turtle library and then you can use this.
Okay.
I will just show you one example here in the desktop also, not in the collaboratory. If time permits, then I will show you.
So we have, just 10 more minutes because we have made the session till 1 p.m. So we still have 10 minutes. So you can go ahead. Okay.
So I will show you how to use this turtle, this graphic visualization library on the desktop. And then I will give you some example of the one important feature of Python, that is we work with modular programming, that we can define our modules and then on the need we can call those modules. So here I have written this code. Let us show you the code. I have this is gedit program turtle.py. This is, so on your desktop, what you have to do, you have to import turtle library. And from this, I am importing one turtle, that is your pen, and the screen where you have to draw using your pen. The pen will be created through this module turtle and the screen on which you want to print it. Now, here in this example, what I have now showing you, that you can also print your text in different color on your graphic screen. So what I have done here I have, this is a fun function which I have written here because we have not covered here. This is one function which is taking the pen and the string which you want to display and display that string in different color. And the string passes, first time it is Thapar and second time this is university. So this Thapar and university letter will be displayed in different colors. So I will just show you the output and then we can discuss if needed. I have this program Python 3. I have to use this compiler interpreter to execute it. Python 3 program name. So this is written on our graphical screen. This is written there. And I have written a command that I will, if mouse click on this screen, only then it will terminate, otherwise not. Means मैं keyboard से कुछ भी करती रहूं, click that terminate नहीं होगा. So as soon as I click on the screen, my program is terminated. So you can use the thing which I have shown you in the Google Colaboratory through Colab Turtle, you can use that in your desktop Python 3 also. You have to just import your turtle and you can generate any visual using this. And to write on the turtle, here you have to use statement turtle.write. That turtle is the name of your pen which you have generated, and write whatever character you want to write and with which color you want to write. You have to specify. So I will continue held up here. Another thing which I have to show here is while loop. I have told you. For loop, again I have told you that for loop is basically when you want to repeat some set of statements a fixed number of time depending on the sequence value which you have given, then those when time this statement will be executed. And remember, the for loop and the else loop both can have for loop and while loop both can have else part. What is else part? For loop, this else part will execute when this whole iteration is over, then this else part will execute. And in case of while loop, as soon as condition becomes false, then else part will execute. So in this case here, this is just showing the same example. Here I have written 4 counter in range 5. So here my output will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 numbers but starting from 0. If I have written here 1, 5, I will get there 1, 2, 3.
Ma'am, I just need to check whether I have set the meeting time till 1 or 1:30 because there are 4 minutes. So in case you still want to take 5 more minutes, then I just have to extend the meeting timings. So otherwise the meeting will probably end. So
I can continue for further 15 minutes if it is not a problem.
So it depends. Actually, many of the participants are writing that they need a second session on this. So because I think they find it very interesting, and maybe at this moment they would like to go practice something, and then they want kind of another session. So
okay, that's not problem. I will just tell about this break and continue statement, and then they will use this in for loop just 1 minute, and then we can stop here.
Sure.
Now within loop, I have told you that we have to repeat statements multiple times, but sometimes within the loop, on basis of some condition, I want to come out from the loop. I do not want to continue with the loop. For that purpose, we use their break statement. And another is we have continue statement. Continue statement means when you are in a loop, but you want to skip some set of statement depending on some condition, but you want to continue with this loop. So in this case, like here, what will happen here? For num in this case, here we are incrementing num. This is some variable name. And then we are checking if number is 3, then continue with another part. The next part not has to be written. So continue statement is encountered. So control will move back to the first statement after the loop. That means what are statements which were written after the continue, after this continue statement, that will be just skipped. So that is the difference between break and continue. Break will just put control out of the loop. Continue will not make the control out of the loop, but it will place the control to the beginning of the loop, wherever it is, by skipping the rest of the statement in that block of the for loop. That is the purpose of this continue statements. So I will just finish here.
Ma'am, I will increase the time till 15 minutes. You can just take your time for 5-10 more minutes in case you need it. I've just enabled more time for this meeting.
Okay, so I will just show you the working of this break and continue statement. Until you will have the uses of this break and continue, you will not be able to understand the concept of this. So I will just share a code with you of the break and continue. This is the code which I have written. I think this code will be visible to all of you. Now, what is the purpose of this this code is that I want to use here. I'm calling a function. The purpose of this function is to find out to find out the sum of square of number, that is the series. We have to add the square of numbers and return the result. That is the purpose of this function. Or I can just change this. I can just write it as sum is equal to, we can also use here sum plus equals to is equal to this number. Plus equals to is equal to this. This means this is the same thing as sum equals to sum plus number. These both statements are equal. This is your pre-assignment operator. Now in this case here, both will work similarly. We can write this. This is a shortcut for writing sum is equal to sum plus number. Now what we are doing here, if you go through this, here while we'll have condition that is always true. I am taking input from the user. If that number is greater than 0, I am adding it to some variable sum, printing that variable value. If the entered number is negative, I am coming out of the loop. Now before using this, if I will run this code, I will get error because I have not assigned some initial values to sum because I was using some function there. So now let us see what will happen here. I have entered number 3, number 4, I will get 7, number 5, say 1, it is 8. Now suppose I entered here minus 4. Now what will happen here? Minus 4 number is greater than 0, no, else part will execute. So you will get message, entered number is negative, so terminating the loop. Now in this case here, remember here, this else part has not worked. You have not got this message. Why? Because you are just skipping out of the loop. Loop has not been terminated completely. You have just come out of the loop. So that is why this else part has been skipped. If you want to see the working of this else part, here again, I have used this thing function. So I will just function is this. It is a basically function which I am calling and passing this parameter. I can just use it, and before using it, I have to, or I can just replace it by execute it. Function total. Function. What is a function here? Function is basically defined when you want to use those solution or those set of statement with different values in many of the program, then you can write your function. The purpose of this function is to add, to make a series, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, add them and store the result in total and return that total. That is the purpose of this function total. So in this case here, if I will call this function, sum is equal to function total. What was the need of math? Because I was using their power function. So now it is showing me that result is 14. Now here, while I was giving you the example of this else statement, I have entered 3. I have 3, 2, 1 and 14 is my answer. And when I will enter minus 9, I will get here else part. See here the else part is executed. Number is negative. Reason for terminating is coming out of the loop due to the negative number. So when you use break statement, else part will skip to 2. And what is the continue? What is the purpose of continue? Continue purpose is that when you want to use, like for example, here, say I use here sum plus equals to 2. Now what I'm doing here, I'm adding number to the sum. If number is 3, I don't want to add 2. Means whenever number becomes 3, I just want to add, I just want to skip adding 2 with the sum. Otherwise, I want to add to every time I have a number instead of number 3. So let us see what will be the output. Number has value 25. How we got this number? Now number is in range of 0 to 6. So values are 0, 1, 2, 3. So in this case, I can print that number. Print num. Again, run it. So I have these number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when number is 0, 0 is not equal to 3. Sum becomes sum plus 0. That is sum becomes 0. Then number is not 3. Sum will be added 2. So sum becomes 2 here. So in this way it will continue. But as this sum number becomes 3 here, this addition of 2 will be skipped. So that is the difference between break and continue. So continue is continue with the loop by skipping the rest of the statement after the continue statement for that loop. Whereas if you have written break here, as soon as you will encounter number 3, control will come out from the loop. In this case, this is basically iterator using the string, using the for loop. For each letter in Python, this is the given string, this is a constant string which you are given. Here you are displaying the letter. That means you can individually accessing the character or the letters in your string by using the for loop. This is just the basic concept which I have told you. There are lots of other things which we need to cover to understand the basic programming of Python. That is how to define function, how to work with list, string functions, sets, tuples, and many, many more things. So this is what I can just cover in this session. Hopefully, I am able to make you understand the basic concept of this Python and its usability. So that is all for this today's session.
Thank you, ma'am. So before we proceed for the other remarks, there is a question from Jitesh. He says, why didn't we write int here before taking sum? So I think in the previous one, previous program, he's asking when you are explaining the value 25.
This one?
Yeah, I think it should be for this question.
Because in this case, what happens here, I'm not taking input from the user. This range function itself generates integer value from 0 to 5.
Okay.
So that is why I have not written int num, or I have, in this case, what will happen, depending on the values which you have initialized to this sum, the data type will be given to this sum. Means if I will print here sum as, say, print type of sum. So here it's showing you int. And if I have given it as character type or string type, see what will happen here. I will get error definitely because this sum I cannot use string character, but here the type is your string. So depending on the values which you are assigning to your variable, data type is assigned. So that is why, because I have assigned integer value, I have not used their int typecast operator.
That's true. There is another question from SG. Can you tell hold command in plots?
Can more commands in plots?
Hold command. So it's
hold command.
Yeah. So I think just like in MATLAB, we have some hold command when we plot a graph, and then you can hold that graph, and then you can redraw one more graph in the same screen. So I think it is something related to that.
In this case, one thing is there that we can move the position. We can change the coordinates. Our existing picture will not be overwritten. By changing the pixels position, changing the turtles to right to the another position, we can have the previous figure.
Okay.
Previous figure. Or if you will not, in this case, what happens? I have used reinitialize. If you will not reinitialize, it will keep on printing on the same screen.
So I hope we have clarified many of the doubts of the participant. And on behalf of all the students, faculty also sitting here in the session, and some outsiders people also sitting in the session. I want to thank you a lot, Charan ma'am. I think session was very much fruitful, very much engaging, and we were expecting a kind of similar example, but I think we got much more than our expectations. So I want to thank you on behalf of all the participants as well as from my students who have organized this session.